you mentioned used cars and new cars, right? So can you go down that rabbit hole as far as like what's the benefits of having a used car versus a new car or a new car versus a used car?
All right, so there's a lot of this is a huge question that we get. Should I buy new or should I buy used? One, I'll tell you something. You got to take your ego out of this. Okay, this is a financial decision. Um, I tell people all the time, if you're going to keep a car, let's just say you're going to drive a lot of mileage. When I say a lot of miles, I'm talking about over 20,000 miles a year, and you plan on keeping this car, for a certain amount of time, for let's say an extended period of time. It makes sense to buy used. Now, when you are buying used, I recommend that you buy it from the authorized dealer. And here's the reason why. When you're buying the car from an authorized dealer, these vehicles have gone through an inspection. So that dealership, meaning let's just say you're buying a pre-owned Honda, okay? Yes, I can go buy a pre-owned Honda on a side lot, off a neighbor, whatever the case may be. And I may pay a little bit less, but when you're buying it from the dealership, remember, this is a long-term investment. Investment's a tricky word to say when it comes to this, but when you're buying the car from the dealership, now you have the backing. Let's say you're buying it from a Honda dealership. You have the backing of Honda and that dealership to make sure that vehicle has gone through a rigorous inspection, making sure that everything's working properly, right? You want to make sure the vehicle's certified, right? So it has a certified warranty on it. Normally, that's an extension of the manufacturer's warranty. And if case something goes wrong in the first 3 or 4 months of you driving the vehicle, you can go back to the dealership and say, hey, wait a minute, I just picked up this vehicle 2-3 months ago, and this is what's wrong with it. And you have that warranty there. When you do buy these cars from these secondhand lots, or from the person down the street, or your gas station guy, whatever, you lose out on that. So even though you might be saving a little bit money up front, you're probably gonna, and I say probably, more than likely, you're gonna pay that money back in repairs and things of that nature. So I always recommend, if you are buying used, buy certified pre-owned and buy from the authorized dealer. Now, why would you buy a used vehicle? Like I said, if you're using the vehicle, you're putting a lot of miles on the vehicle. That's to me the most important factor in buying a used vehicle. Now, the problem right now, and what we saw during the pandemic, is used car pricing went through the roof, right? So just to give you an idea, in 2020, the average used car price was around $20,000. In 2022, it was over $30,000 for the same car, same type of vehicle. So prices jumped drastically. You're starting to see that come down a little bit, but it's still much higher than what it was back then. During the pandemic, right before the pandemic, 2019, cars were depreciating at about 3%, right? And in 2021 and 2022, they jumped up 32 to 36%. So it was a very difficult time. This is when people were saying, hey, you know what? I have a lease, and they were selling their leases, or they were getting money back for their cars, but it made it very difficult to buy a vehicle. Believe it or not, some people were actually buying used cars for more than the original price that someone paid for it as a new vehicle. So the market was crazy, but it's starting to settle out a little bit. I think by the end of 2025, you'll see numbers start to come back down, mainly because the new car inventory is starting to come back.
I'm just thinking in my head, you get the used car, you're getting a double at 30,000 at the minimum, double-digit interest rate. That's a hefty payment, man. That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's what people don't understand. The interest rate is so important, right? And when you do get a certified vehicle from the dealership, normally that'll come attached with a better interest rate. But used car interest rates right now are in the sevens, 7 to 14% is what I'm seeing. So people don't realize, and this is very important, when you're shopping for a vehicle, you have to do the big math, right? Not just the little math. When the dealership tells you, oh, it's $80 to $90 or $100 more in the monthly payment, if you're doing a 72-month loan, right, or a 6-year finance, that's $7,200 that you're adding in finance charges, right, depending on what your interest rate is, to the price of the car, right? So make sure you're aware of what the interest rate is. Don't just buy based on payment. Does that make sense? Because if the higher the interest rate, when on a simple interest loan, okay, let's get into math, right? On a simple interest loan, which was what every car loan is, right? The bank collects their money first. So you're paying back the interest first. The money that you're making on your payment, let's just say you have a $500 payment. The majority of that payment in the beginning is going towards interest. Very little of that money is going towards your principal. So what's happening is your vehicle is losing value and you're not even touching the principal yet. You're paying all the bank wants their money back first, right? They're not worried about you paying off the car yet. Give me my money. So you're paying off the interest and then you're starting to hit that principal. Around the halfway mark is now when you start to cut into the principal. But what happens is that vehicle is depreciating in value. Not to mention, let's say that vehicle was in an accident. If that car got hit and now you have a bad Carfax, that dropped the value of the vehicle also. So you're accelerating the depreciation while you're still paying all of this interest. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So before the used car, what about a warranty that comes with the?
So when you get a certified vehicle, those normally come with an extension of the manufacturer's warranty. That's if the vehicle's still a fairly new car, right? Let's say it's a 2 or 3 year old vehicle. Now you can buy extended warranties, and a lot of these secondhand lots, they will send you an extended warranty, but you got to read the fine print. Some of them have deductibles, high deductibles, or they only cover certain aspects of the vehicle. So you got to be very careful with those, secondhand warranties. Some of them are great. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are great, but you have to do like I said, you have to do the research. You got to read the fine print whenever you're signing these contracts. Going back to what I was talking about with the interest rate, when you're paying that interest and the vehicle's depreciating, that's how you end up what's called upside down, where you owe more than it's worth, right? You go to the dealership, you go to trade it in, and they go, well, you owe 15,000, but the car is only worth 10. So what happens is people take that $5,000, roll it into their next car, and essentially they're paying for that old car in the price of their new car. Not to mention they're paying interest on that also. So you have to be very careful with that. You can get into a really bad cycle of rolling negative equity into the next car and the next car and the next car. What I tell people who are in that situation is your best option to end that cycle is to lease a vehicle. Now, what you're going to be paying more because you're going to have to roll that negative equity into the vehicle. You may even have to put some money down on the lease so the bank can look at it as a favorable purchase, right? Meaning, why would the bank give you $40,000 for a vehicle that's only worth $30,000, right? They're going to want to see some money down. But at the end of 3 years, and you've made those payments on time, at the end of 3 years, you walk away. Now you're out of that negative equity cycle, and your payment's going to be much lower.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that and the warranty piece, because that can get tricky. A lot of times it'll be 50,000. You buy a used car, it already has 36,000. That means you're only 14,000 miles before having to get it extended. Then you have it for 6 years, and that extended might go to 100,000. But by the time you finish paying the 6 years, you've passed 100,000. And so those are the type of payments that you can't account for that will come up inside of that deal. But I'm walking in the
warranties work in 2 ways. Keep in mind, it's mileage and time. So there's a thing, and a lot of people don't know this. There's a thing called date of first use. It's called the DOFU, right? Date of first use. So your warranty starts from the date of first use. Let's say you have a 4-year warranty and you buy the vehicle in November of 2023, right? So that's when your warranty starts. So let's say you have a 4-year warranty, November of 2027 is when your warranty expires. If you come back and say, hey, you know what, or let's just say you bought a 2024 in 2023, right? Because cars come out early, right? They come out for the next model year. You don't have a 20 till 2028. Let's say you bought a 2024 and has a 4-year warranty, but you bought it in 2023. Your warranty expires November 2027, not in 2028. So you have to keep in mind, it's mileage or time, whichever one comes first. You can say, hey, listen, I have a 48,000 mile warranty and I've only had my vehicle for 3 years. If you hit that time, I'm sorry, I've had my vehicle for past the time that the warranty is allowed, you're out of warranty. Doesn't matter if you're under on your mileage.